DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Concrete Jungle here on FingerLeaks1.com. Paul Russo and Kyle Evans here with you. Been a couple weeks. I had a dentist appointment last Monday. Things just couldn't get really properly aligned. I don't know, Kyle. It's like I said to you off air just now. I don't know if we really have missed much, though, in the grand scheme of it. Yeah, we're going to jump into a couple topics here, obviously, for both the Mets and the Yankees. But, the Yankees, they're back in first place in the AL East, but things have been pretty much the same overall, from that record side of things that we talked about a couple of weeks back. And for the Mets, 500 baseball for the most part. It's just the name of the overall game for both of for them. So I don't know, maybe I guess on that overall front, we haven't missed all that much in 14 days.
Yeah, there's not really too many headlines, I would say. You kind of mentioned that. Um, I was looking this morning, I saw a stat, I thought this was pretty interesting. So both teams, well, actually, the Yankees have played 70 games and the Mets have played 71. But over the last 51 games, I looked at everyone's record, and the Mets are 25-26 over the last 51. And the Yankees, believe it or not, are tied with the White Sox. I believe it was 34 wins over the last 51. So, just the Mets just all year, no consistency. And then the Yankees, they had a little bit of a rough patch in the beginning of June, actually, this month. And then they've really turned the corner with a 5-1 road trip. So, just two teams that are just on the opposite ends of, winning, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and especially more on that White Sox team, obviously, here in a little bit on the podcast. But yeah, it was kind of the worry I had. Go back to the start of the month for the Yankees, right? Cleveland just always plays them tough, but but then they go quick turnaround last week, right? And they sweep the Guardians in Cleveland, and I don't know, it kind of, I think, set the right tone. I mean, obviously they win the series in Toronto, which they struggled playing at last year, and I I think it was just one of those things where they kind of seemed, this past week. I don't want to say it's like, you shake the monkey off your back or anything like that necessarily, but the Guardians just always played them tough. And then Toronto was a place they struggled with last year. And I know, especially say like that Toronto front is a little bit different, right? The first time they played at Toronto this season. But I think for the Yankees, it'd be tough not to at least kind of walk with the chest out a little bit today on this off day, knowing what they kind of did in the past week. Obviously you mentioned that 51 game stretch, but go more micro on that focus. But eh, it was a damn good week for the Yankees last week.
And for me, it's how they're doing it with the personnel they have. If you really think about it, 4 guys that were in their starting lineup on opening day have not been in the lineup now the last few days. And I say a few days because Trent Grisham was in the lineup until recently. But yeah, I mean, your 2 best power hitters are out, and obviously Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. I already mentioned Trent Grisham, and then I know this is going to probably get some heat, but I mean, it's true. He was the starting catcher on opening day. Austin Wells has been out of the lineup. And you really look at the catching situation. I'm sure we'll get more into it, but at this point, you'll take that one Austin Wells home run or 2 Austin Wells home runs over, a 14-day stretch,
Mhm.
because I mean they're getting nothing from that position. So yeah, that's kind of what surprised me the most. I think the pitching obviously has been great. I didn't even mention on that side too, Max Fried still being out. And that one game in Toronto that they did lose, Ryan Weathers, who, won't be in the rotation the whole year, put them in a 5-0 hole in the early in the game that they couldn't dig themselves out of. So really, their pitching has been their starting pitching has been a bright spot. So they're not even fully clicking. And you look at the AL and it's like, wow, like where is everyone else other than the White Sox?
Yeah, which I I don't know. I want to save some of that White Sox stuff, obviously, because that's who the Yankees play to start this week and everything. And um, yeah, I mean, I think you teed up pretty good to kind of go into like I feel like the main story for the Yankees have to do a lot with the injured list right now. And look, I think like you mentioned, we talked a ton about the catching situation on this podcast, and um, I predicted the future with Ali Sanchez. Just did not anticipate it being from Austin Wells having to go on the IL, dealing with headaches. And I know, is it tomorrow he technically starts the rehab stuff? I believe, right?
Yeah, I believe it's tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if he did anything yesterday or not, but yeah, I mean it's just catching's just a black hole. And I don't know. I think if you're the Yankees, it kind of just is what it is at the moment until you hope Wells comes back. And like you mentioned, you just take those couple home runs over the course of a couple weeks and maybe keep it moving at that point. I don't know. I think a lot of the stuff for the Yankees right now is centered worry wise, probably in the outfield, right? You mentioned Grisham. We haven't said it yet, but Aaron Judge has been on the IL since we last talked to on the podcast, right? Um, and so you have Spencer Jones up now again. Dominguez is back off the IL. That was a corresponding move for Grisham, but um, this is an outfield that I don't know. Going into the year, we did have maybe some marginal questions about, obviously Trent Grisham oriented, but you know, Bellinger's been about as rock solid as you can be really all year, to be quite honest. And now he has to anchor an outfield flanked by a rookie and a guy who technically has a year of experience. So like it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, they're doing well and they're handling the business in front of them, but yeah, just kind of like one of those things where it's like they're just handling business kind of the right way. And oh, by the way, before I toss it to you on this point too as well, Kyle, like get news yesterday that Giancarlo Stanton has a setback in his build up to getting rehab stuff going as well. So it's like, and obviously for him, it's not at this point anything necessarily outfield oriented. I think my brain still just defaults to him being an outfielder naturally, but like, that's a bat that the Yankees have been without now for over half the year, essentially. Like, it's kind of crazy to think about that they're just going about their business the way that they have been. And, the status quo has been good enough that, to steal what you might be bringing up a little bit more here too as well, to avoid the June swoon of sort.
Yeah, and the thing is too, they're also plugging in some other guys out there like Jose Caballero. He's been moving around the outfield. Max Schumann, who it's funny. It seems like not a lot of people ever talk about him or mention him, but believe it or not, I mean, he started yesterday, had a double off the wall against Patrick Corbin. He won them a game a couple weekends ago in Vegas with some base running. Um, it just seems like whoever they put out there just does enough. And Jason Dominguez, believe it or not, was actually rushed back. He was supposed to be in the minors through the weekend, but
Hmm.
the Trent Grisham injury Friday night caused that. But it is a big blow because believe it or not, Trent Grisham had like some of the best offensive numbers over the last 2 weeks among all Yankees. Like he had been really good. So yeah, I just hope Spencer Jones, it's tough. They had Patrick Corbin, so they didn't want to start him against him yesterday, but hopefully he gets some consistent at bats and really shows out. And then Dominguez, he's been hitting way up in the lineup, in the two spot. He came over or got called back up after a two homer game, so you would just hope that he gets going too. But it is weird seeing an outfield of Bellinger, Dominguez, and Jones. And I think we're going to see that for a while now with that. Judge is probably still a long ways away, and who else are they going to put out there?
Yeah, I mean, that rib injury for Judge is something that goes back to 2019, right? Was that when he
Yeah,
had that? So, um, yeah, who knows? And I'm sure maybe a lot of Yankee fans figured you'd have Dominguez and Jones in the outfield together and it'd be Judge, not Bellinger. But hey, here we are in June of 2026. Um, yeah, let's get into the Yankees kind of upcoming week here. 2 series homestand off today. Um, have the White Sox here to get the week going before welcoming the Cincinnati Reds in over the weekend. Um, yeah, Kyle, the White Sox have probably been, I think at this point for sure, the surprise team of the MLB. I mean, you go from essentially worst to, for in their case, first at minimum in division, and things for them have been plugging along pretty well over the course of the past month and a half, frankly, right? Like it's kind of crazy. They got a bunch of young guys who are just playing well, and it's not maybe totally all young guys here. I should probably rephrase it a little bit, but like it's guys who are either their prospects who are finally coming to fruition or cast-offs from other teams, and they're just playing some damn good baseball. It's kind of crazy. If you're to ask us back in April about this series, right? I'd be like, nah, the Yankees, whatever. But it's like this is a series that like they have to take seriously. Not that they wouldn't anyway, but like, um, look, the White Sox are not the easy out that I think people thought they might be this year, and it's a potent offense. The pitching staff has done pretty well this year for them. It's a fascinating series to, even from just a pure baseball standpoint, right? Of gauging where you have a team in the Yankees, for example, who um, clearly are at minimum where they on paper probably should be still, no matter what, against a team in the White Sox who are just playing some really good baseball, probably obviously certainly better than a lot of people give them credit for. It's a really good gauge to see on where, but frankly, both teams where they're at this time of the year.
Yeah, and they're doing it without their rookie, who had been unbelievable, 20 homers in his first 57 games.
Mhm.
And then you look at some of the guys, like you mentioned, they're older guys, veteran guys. One being that Yankee fans are probably going to have a fit with over the next 3 nights because he's going to kill them, and that's Randall Grichuk, who did that a bunch, in his past.
Well, you know where my brain decided to go to?
Who's
Benintendi.
that? Oh, and then
Yeah,
also, not to mention, 4 days ago, ready for this?
yeah,
Everson Pereira is off the
yeah,
IL.
yep,
So it's just funny seeing a lot of these names. And then, yeah, Colson Montgomery being another young guy that's, off to a great start. Chase Meredith, just a lot of guys really you look up and down the order. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see how the series plays out. It's so weird, though, to see a team 6 games over 500 and the White Sox come to the Bronx and it to be a big series in the AL. And it just goes to show you where the AL is at right now. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, can't wait for it.
yeah. I mean, the Yankees see Davis Martin tomorrow on Tuesday. That's essentially ace versus ace matchup in Martin, I think, against Garrett Cole. Wednesday, it's Anthony Kay against Carlos Rodon, and then on Thursday, it's Sean Burke against Ryan Weathers. Just this one's tough to predict for me because I think it's just a fascinating matchup. It's tough to really gauge. Obviously, the Cincinnati matchup coming up on the weekend there, but um, yeah, I know it's just one of those things for me where like this is a fascinating week for the Yankees matchup wise. Like the Reds are a team that they've been very up and down this year, but like their good is really good. Their bad's been pretty bad, but like, that's a team in Cincinnati that you can't sleep on either just because of the potency of what they could potentially do on any given night.
Yeah, I was just actually looking at some numbers. This is a weird one, and I get it, it's just numbers, but I think it's interesting. Um, the White Sox are actually only 14 and 20 on the road, and the Yankees are only 19 and 12 at home. So you have a bad home, not a bad home team, but a team that struggles more at home, and a team that doesn't win a lot on the road going head to head. So that's kind of interesting. Um, and yeah, I kind of like pitching matchups though. I mean, tomorrow's opener, Davis Martin is going to be tough.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna say that the Yankees do win the series. I'll say 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that. It's one of those things where even thinking back outside of the first inning, like Ryan Weathers pitched pretty good in Toronto. I mean, he was able to figure it out essentially. Which is the part that makes like that series fascinating. That the game really to me, I don't know. I got a weird feeling tomorrow night might be the loss though for the Yankees, but either way, I agree with you. Get 2 of 3 there, and you roll into the weekend feeling pretty good. So, all right, let's get over to the Mets, Kyle, because as you mentioned, and I teed up as well, I- they're just a 500 baseball team. And look, I know they're still in below 500 record overall here, but look, it's beating a dead horse at this point, right? Like they have opportunities here to have gained some places and get some steam back, and yet they just can't seem to do it. And I just want to bring up because when we talked a couple weeks ago, the Mets were able to get out of the basement. It looked like the Marlins were kind of maybe coming back down to earth a little bit. But the hottest team in baseball in the month of June so far, this first half, has been the Miami Marlins. And they're back to being a 500 team, fourth place in the NL East. And maybe worse for the Mets in this case, too, in all honesty. You have a club in Philly that's now leapfrogging to fully in second place. The Nationals are back to being above 500, also playing really good ball. To me, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're them, and we'll get into a couple things here as well. It's kind of like the Yankee stuff we're doing here initially off the bat. But like, I, I just feel like I am being the dead horse here. I just cannot believe they just can't string like 4 or 5 together without dropping the next like 4 or 5 in the hypothetical. Like, it's just mind boggling to me.
I mean, yeah, you look at how the week started last week in against St. Louis, they lose the first 2. I mean, literally managed 2 runs in 18 innings. Then they go and win 2, and you're like, all right. And they're playing Atlanta, by the way, over the weekend. So you're like, wow, this is impressive 7-5 win Friday night. But then they followed up with a 1 run, scoring 1 run on Saturday, and they do win yesterday. But then it's like, all right, well, follow the pattern. They're probably going to go to Cincinnati and lose 3 of 4. But hey, we'll see. But yeah, the stat I ripped off at the beginning is 51 games over the last 51 games, they're 25 and 26. I mean, you look now, even at a smaller sample size, they've won 6 of 10, but they're still 7 under 500. So yeah, you're right. Again, if you can't just win 2 in a row, you have to literally 4, 5, 6 in a row to really turn the corner. And again, it's only 71 games. They play 162. There is time. History isn't on your side, but there's always a turning point, and you just for them, they just hope they find it. And I know the injuries are still a problem. There's guys are missing. Lindor is obviously a big miss still, but at some point, man, like there's still talent. They got to turn the corner. We talk about this every time, though.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where no matter the sport, right? Eventually, the talent does have to make a difference, and it's one of those things where they just seem to be. I don't know. The wheels are spinning, whatever you want to call it. And, I know, like you mentioned, Lindor, I know he's resumed baseball activities, and the plan is for him to get some sort of rehab games here going sometime this week. And yet, you have that happen on the offensive side. Christian Scott, you know, finally comes back from injury over the course of the past calendar year, finding his groove. Now he's going back to the injured list as well right now. And I know we're kind of looking at both sides of the ball here a little bit, but like even on the roster, if they just like it's like, okay, one positive thing happening, now one negative, one positive, one negative. This seems like just a team that and I don't know, maybe it's time to view it from this standpoint too, right? It's just like maybe this is a team this year that it's just this is going to be their storyline. It is what it is. Nothing. I don't want to make it sound like there's nothing wrong with it, given like obviously what they have on the roster or anything like that, right? But like, it's just like one of those things where it's like, okay, if this is the story for this year for the New York Mets, maybe for people like us, right, it's time to transition those conversations of like, figure it out. Time is still of the essence. You can still get this deal done to, okay, we are essentially a month and a half away from the trade deadline. Who are the guys that we think for the Mets could get them some pieces back for next year or 2 years away? Um, and that's my thing right now, where it's just like I don't know. Like again, me and you are not saying we are writing them off yet or anything like that, but like I think it's also fair enough for us to look at from the angle of like, if this is what they're going to be, they just need to either pull the plug right now or get together a battle plan to rectify the situation, you know, by August 1 when the trade deadline does occur. Because, and maybe it's going to be easier. Like maybe the deadline for them is going to be something like hypothetically, we're a month away from the All-Star break. Maybe that's what their true, personal deadline for them in the front office right now is like, we'll get Lindor back by then. Hypothetically, guys, essentially the full roster should be kind of back to some way, shape, or form at that point. Do we give them that time and like they figure it out? And if not, do we pivot? Like, I would imagine that's probably technically what they're doing. But like for us, man, I don't know. I don't think we can spend many more podcasts talking about the fact that they're just 500 and they're beating themselves into the ground doing it.
Yeah, remember the trade deadline is only a couple of days later, but August 3rd this year. So I guess there's even more time from now. But yeah, I think about like probably, it's June 15th today. I think over the next month, it's kind of like where they're gonna really decide what they're gonna do. If they can't play over 500 ball over the next month, then clearly they're gonna be at about 95, 100 games at that point. Then you just know it's not gonna happen. So yeah, I still think the next month is really a big month for them. Their run differential is getting better. I mean, they're only now 5.5 out of the wild card instead of 7 and 8 and 9. I saw it at 9 one time. The Reds have lost 8 of 10, and they're the team that's just a little bit in front of them. There's teams that they can jump over. The Pirates. I mean, the Marlins are red hot. They've won 8 of 10. I mean, there's teams that are still in front of them that, when the Mets are healthy, they just feel like they're better than these teams. And that's why I wouldn't like really count them out right now. And maybe July 15th. And if it's like this, then I'll like start feeling differently, but not today on June 15th.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. That's why I didn't want to make it sound like I'm coming off as if I'm just done with them. I'm not, but I don't know. You can only do the 500 thing for so long, and that's why like you mentioned, it's tough because you look at it like, yeah, they're 5.5 out of the wild card spot, but also in between them and that 5.5 games is, to be fair, technically, more than a handful of teams. Like and obviously, like you mentioned, Cincinnati's one of them coming up, literally starting tonight. They have Philly over the weekend. That's a team technically in front of them too, even though Philly's, above that cut line. But like, I don't know. It's a very pivotal to me couple weeks here for the Mets, and not to get too far ahead to like next week's podcast, but like, again, next week they have another team in front of them in the wild card in the Cubs to get things going at the start of the week, and then they play Philly again. Like, in the sense of like what we're talking about, it really is a little bit of some do or die games here coming up. In the sense of they have to get results. You have to not play 500 ball, man. I look, it's easier said than done, but like they're finally looking in between the numbers, like you mentioned, right? Like look at the run differential. Okay, finally stuff is kind of starting to chip away there a hair, but like not at the clip that you probably need it to be for that fringe stuff, right? Where it makes the difference. And that'll be the key part. And look, for them, for example, for Cincinnati, they get some good arms against Cincinnati going against them, right? They have Chase Burns tonight, who they'll be facing, Brady Singer tomorrow, and Nick Lodolo on Wednesday. And out of the three, I mean, Brady Singer's probably the one you need to take advantage of the most. I don't know. I mean, Chase Burns looks like he's really figured stuff out this year in his second full year. Nick Lodolo's back off of injury, and he's figured some stuff out here in the past couple starts for him. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but like the positive is right. Like Wednesday in that Lodolo matchup, you have Noah McLean going. To be determined tomorrow, but that's because I'm willing to bet we'll see another call up. But like Tobias Myers is pitching tonight against Chase Burns, and it's like I hate viewing it from this perspective, Kyle, but like you really need to hope you get Burns out early enough that you can get to Cincinnati's bullpen because it's been bad period for them. But since they've had injuries, it's gotten even worse. Like you really need, like tonight is a good example of like the Mets need to like do that job on offense that they have the talent for even with right now. Right. even though Burns has been the best pitcher for Cincinnati all year and the numbers back it up and everything like that, chase him early and get to the spot where you know that you can take full advantage. Like that's what the Mets need to do. And if they do that tonight, man, it's got to be like that's a huge confidence booster for the rest of the series and the rest of the week.
Yeah, and there are signs on offense. I mean, Bo Bichette's had a couple incredible weeks,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of multi-hit games. Francisco Alvarez has had a big home run the other night. Juan Soto's still hitting over 300 in his last 7 games. So like, there's just guys in the lineup that need to start carrying the load, and they have the talent, the potential to do it. And if they're going to start it, they need to do it against a team, like we mentioned, that's right there with them in the wild card. They've already fouled that twice by losing to the Diamondbacks 5 out of 6, a team that's ahead of them. And then the Marlins, which makes no sense, get swept and then sweep them. So, yeah, you got to just start, they say day by day, but man, you really need to, like, what, 6 games this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 games. I'm serious. 4-2, 5-1, or it's a failed week.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you there. And, but it's tough for the Mets, man. It's tough because they just have not given us I guess the whatever you want to call it to trust them to get that job done at this point. So I guess for them we're in a wait and see spot in terms of true predictions. But and that's the part that sucks, man. I can see them winning and getting the series done against Cincinnati only to turn around and then like lose a series to Philadelphia. Like that, and that's the thing where it's like it's kind of mind-boggling for me, where it's just like in principle they should be carrying that momentum against Philly, who um like, look, mind you, obviously been playing a lot better baseball still post firing of Rob Thompson and everything like that. But like, man, over the course of the past couple of weeks, they've also had a lot of moments where it's like, oh, Christopher Sanchez is very clearly human. Like there's been stuff, right, where it's just like, this is very clearly a team that to me is a lot more closer to say like the Mets. And it's going to be interesting, obviously, with the Braves too now, with Acuna being back on the injured list again and everything like that. But like, you're starting to see, I think maybe Atlanta even come back to earth a little bit here at the moment as well. Maybe not the way that I thought, like I mentioned, because of injuries, but like I think it's kind of happening. But like this is a spot for the Mets where it's like these are teams that you're technically on equal footing with at minimum. Like this is where you need to like show your stuff, and maybe we're sitting here in a week, right? And it's like, damn, can you believe the Mets went 5-1 last week? Like fantastic. Or we're back here being the dead horse of like 3-3. How can they just not get one, you know, just not 1-4-2 week out of this to make things feel like slightly better?
Yeah, and because obviously I'm a stat guy, and if you look at the stats, it's pretty crazy seeing that the Phillies actually have the worst run differential in the NL East at
Mm-hmm.
-23, and the Mets are -11. So, um, I mean, it's just you just see it like it's going to be funny when they really do turn it around, and we can just throw it back to these podcasts because you just know there's still time. The wild card has 3 teams now that make it, and the teams that they're chasing they're literally going to be playing a bunch, and that's the best thing about how early it is. It's on you to change this. It's not like they need help from other teams. They can start it now, and we'll see if they can do it.
Yeah. All right. I wasn't fully planning to talk about minor league stuff today, Kyle, but um alas, I think we still have to kind of do it a little bit here. I don't know the full details, and I don't know if you saw, but Syracuse played in Buffalo this past week. Over the weekend, again, I don't want to dive fully into the whatever. I don't want to speculate. I saw that G1 Bay got into it with some fans out in the outfield at one point in Buffalo, and I know it resulted in um, some fans being ejected from the game. I'm intrigued to see what may or may not happen with that. Um, Rochester, meanwhile, is a game back of Memphis in the league standings. Memphis has had a pretty good couple weeks. And to their credit, it's not like Rochester's played bad the past couple weeks. They're 7-3 in the last 10. It's just Memphis has played slightly better baseball in that stretch. So, um, it's going to be intriguing. The first half wraps up, I believe it's next week. So we're going to have to be keeping an eye on that throughout the week to see if Rochester can clinch a playoff spot through winning the first half of the International League. But um, a little trivia time here for you, Kyle. I know you're a stats guy here, so I don't want to fully, um, I don't know about give it away or anything like that. But like, when was the last time that the Rochester Red Wings won the Governor's Cup, which is the International League trophy for the champion?
Ooh, was it like the early? I'll just throw out a number. I don't really actually
Go
know,
ahead.
but like 2006.
You would think they had some good teams in that run, but 1997
Oh,
for one of
damn.
what is on paper one of the most historically significant franchises in minor league baseball. It's been a while. It's been a while since they even made the playoffs, especially with the way the new system is, obviously. But
So
um,
29 years.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
and
we've seen a lot of droughts get snapped, so
hey, especially in Western New York, right? So why not?
yeah,
Why not one more?
yeah.
All right. That will do it though for the podcast this week. Just wanted to touch on those couple things here. And like I said, next week we'll probably dive a little bit more deeper into that Rochester thing because, like I mentioned, the first half is wrapping up. And it'd be nice in the hypothetical to say we have a team that's already clinched a playoff berth and it's June. So um, hey, part of it. So Kyle, good talking with you. I will see you. Yeah, I'll see you on Thursday. All my stuff's kind of taken care of at that point. So look forward to that. Here on Concrete Jungle. We'll talk again next Monday. Everybody, appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in. You can find Concrete Jungle on the fingerlakes1.com, the F1 YouTube channel, and the audio only feed on all major podcasting platforms. Enjoy the week, everybody, and we will talk again next week.